What essentially inspired our campaign is the issue of vaping in our schools and institutions of higher learning, where if you notice, it's very common, it's become a very common habit amongst young people to be using a vape. And we did not just look at the habit itself, but we saw that our students or our young people were at a point where they're addicted to vaping. And it's a critical issue. But beyond that, we did our Access to Education campaign very early this year, where we visited the schools. And when we visited the schools, we realized that especially in Erongo, Karas region, Hatap region, Khomas, Otjozondjupa, and Oshana, these 6 regions, vaping is a very critical issue, where there was even a point where at some schools, teachers would tell us that they have to release at least 10 to 20 learners in a day, because they're breaking the school rules by vaping within the school premises or in the classroom. And when we did engage some of these learners, we realized that vaping was, first of all, a very cool habit in their mind, but beyond that, it's also something that they've then become very addicted to, so it's difficult for them to stop. So we then thought, as an organization that advocates for the interests and the well-being of our students, we must be able to tackle something as critical as vaping that is affecting our learners in the schools. So hence, we then thought, why not come up with a campaign that speaks to young people, a slogan that is fun, that is catchy, but also that builds some sort of positive peer pressure towards the campaign and towards anti-vaping activities.
You have taken a bold stance. The vibe is clear, not cloudy. What message are you hoping to send to students and the broader public?
The message that we're hoping to send through this campaign is that, first of all, vaping is not just a random habit. It's a symptom to deeper social issues within our communities. It's a symptom to the mental health issues that exist amongst young people, the substance abuse, the drug and alcohol abuse that exists within our society. So it's a symptom. It's not something that's isolated. But we also want to send a very strong message that we as young people, or as NANSO, we are standing very boldly against this issue and will ensure that we completely remove it from our schools. If it means coming up with policies that are anti-vaping and they're very strict, if it means making it illegal, whatever is going to work that protects our young people and their futures, we're ready to take the stance. And we hope that the Namibian House can stand with us in our anti-vaping activities.
One of your facts states a single vape pod can equal to nicotine of 20 cigarettes. How aware are students of this?
Our students, I don't think they are aware about the statistics and the health concerns around vaping, primarily because vaping has been glamorized. And you realize, you speak to students or young people about vaping, you ask them generally what they know about vaping. What they will tell you is that vaping is a better option compared to smoking, which is not. That is a complete misconception. People who smoke you can't compare one cigarette to a vape. A vape is, you're inhaling a large amount of nicotine compared to somebody who's smoking a cigarette. Not to say we are now supporting cigarettes, but we're saying there's a misconception, and that misconception is that vaping is safer than smoking or inhaling anything else, which is not the case. Vaping is extremely, extremely dangerous. It's extremely addictive, but our students and young people do not know that because vaping has been glamorized. It has been made to look like something that is safe, something that is cool, and something that's comfortable, which is not.
The vape industry in Namibia is projected to hit 48 million. Why is this concerning for student communities?
It's particularly very concerning because that's a lot of money. That is a lot of revenue that goes to the vape industry. That just shows you that our young people, and I say young people because it's mostly young people, they make up majority of the population of vapers in Namibia. So it's large amounts of money that young people are spending on vaping every single year on this industry that is destroying their lungs, an industry that is destroying their future, an industry that creates a very dangerous addiction. So it's particularly concerning because this revenue could be pumped into something much more beneficial. This revenue could be used for activities such as book clubs, for instance, activities such as hiking clubs, gym subscription and gym membership, but it goes towards an industry that is extremely dangerous for our young people's future. So I think the statistics, we needed to bring out those statistics because they paint a very alarming picture. Not only is it huge figures that we are looking at, but the figures indicate to you the number of people that are vaping, the number of young people that are subscribing to this dangerous habit.
How does NANSO envision redirecting that economic interest into more positive avenues for youth development?
When we came up with the campaign, we conducted a very light study where we engaged learners and students, and we asked them, why do you vape? Explain to us, why do you find yourself vaping? Beyond the peer pressure around vaping, there's an aspect of stress relief, an aspect of relieving anxiety and depression, and hence why some people vape. So what we can then do is try to ensure that young people are focused on activities that relieve stress and anxiety, such as sporting activities, for instance, hiking, swimming, chess, whatever activities that they can participate in that improve their mental health, that improve their physical health, rather than vaping. So beyond our clubs or coming up with support groups, we want to encourage young people to rather spend their money in doing wholesome activities that are able to build their strength physically, but also their strength mentally. We understand that school is very overwhelming. So as NANSO, we are actively trying to see how different service providers can tailor services for our students, such as gym membership, for instance. We have businesses that offer paintballing and so forth. So we're trying to still see how, because we're removing this habit from the students, we're removing the vape. What replaces the vape in a student's life? So is it going to be hiking? Is it jogging? What can we do to encourage our students to still relieve their stress, but in a healthy way?
I believe that you have touched on how the schools and institutions are responding to the rise in vaping incidents.
The institutions are, and the schools, there's a very complicated response from them because they also don't know how to respond, especially the schools. What happens now is they are suspending these learners or removing them from classrooms, which is not the solution. So it's already in their schools that they are anti-vaping, and they have a very strict response to vaping, which sometimes does not help. I think what we can work on is ensuring that life skills teachers are able to offer better support, because remember, there's an addiction part of vape. It's not just a random habit, it's also addictive. Beyond it being addictive, like I said, it's a symptom of deeper social issues. So I think our life skills teachers must be able to offer better support. At institutions of higher learning, unfortunately, I'll be very honest with you, they have no way of responding, because these are people that are over the age of 18. Most of the people at institutions of higher learning are over the age of 18. And there's a very funny notion of, because I'm an adult, there's nobody who's going to tell me anything. So it's also institutions trying to balance. But what I am aware is there are no alcohol rules at institutions and policies. I think similarly the vaping must be able to apply, but it's complicated because institutions have smoking zones or cigarette zones. So then I think those cigarette zones will also then apply to vaping, which means you are not dealing with the issue of vaping. You are just providing vapers a corner in an institution to continue vaping. We are not dealing with the health effects of vaping.
And what role can parents and peers play in supporting in this movement?
Families play a very critical role in protecting young people and learners from some of these habits. Remember, there are so many factors involved in this thing. There's peer pressure, there's mental health. So I think they play a role in providing the necessary support from home. Our institutions of teachers and lecturers or whoever plays another role of ensuring that students and young people understand the physical consequences of vaping, the mental consequences of vaping, but also the social consequences of vaping, or even just smoking in general, or making use of drugs or harmful substances. But generally, our community has moved away from shunning some of these harmful practices, and it's been normalized very much. And it's not a good thing at all. We need to do more as a community to protect young people, to protect children from, be it making use of drugs or alcohol or even just vaping in general. Because right now what I can tell you is, if a stranger sees a 14-year-old with a vape on the street, they don't care. If they see a 14-year-old with a beer, they don't care. And I think that's what we need to address, that our community must be able to care for the futures of our children more.
What's your call to action to the government, school administrators, and the Namibian public?
I think to the government, our call to action is very rigid, and we are saying, look, we need to do away with this vaping. It needs to be illegalized. I don't know how. We don't know the legalities or the technicalities of it, but our stance is clear. Vaping must be illegal, or vapes must be illegal, or at least those that are legal in Namibia that can be sold must be those that are very properly tested, because we understand that there's a leak of funny vapes right now, vapes that are not medically approved or approved in general as per the standards. So I think enhancing the laws around that, the imports of those vapes, cutting on the imports of the vapes perhaps, but something needs to be done. I'm not finding the right words to articulate our position on it right now, but something needs to be done. It's either we limit the import of vapes into the country, or we make vapes extremely expensive. We increase the sin tax on vapes, that it becomes very expensive for somebody to access, or a child to access in the first place. If not that, then vapes must go through an extremely rigorous testing process, because we know that there are vapes that are laced with things like drugs, for instance. There are vapes that are not properly manufactured to a point that there's leaks in oil and so forth, that speeds up the process of somebody getting a lung disease, for instance. So, but I think in essence, legislatively so, the government needs to do something in terms of vaping, especially amongst young people.
And finally, if you could speak directly to a student considering vaping, what would you say?
To encourage you that, first of all, this campaign is not aimed to belittle you, to shun you or anything. It's a campaign that's aimed to support you to leave the habit and leave the vaping. But beyond that, NANSO is here for you. We're here to support you. We are working very closely with the ministry, with the government, to see what services are available, because there's an addictive part of vaping, so to deal with this addiction. But we also try to have support groups, and we'll communicate the support groups in your various areas, how you can get the necessary support. If you are a vapor and you're trying to leave and it's addictive, just simply battling the peer pressure around vaping, there's support that's available for you. But the one that is holding a vape in their hand right now is to encourage you to let it go, throw it away. You are either going to be a cool chimney, as young people say, or you're going to protect your future. So you choose between the two. You remain a chimney, or you protect your future. Statistics are also very clear. If you continue vaping continuously for 5 years, your lungs will respond, and it's not going to be a great response. If you are young and you're continuously vaping, I tell you now, you are decreasing your life expectancy to at least you're cutting off 15 years from your life, or how long you would have lived, because you're facing a possible lung disease or lung cancer if you're not going to stop vaping. Unfortunately, we have to be brutally honest about the dangers of vaping. But beyond that, we are here to support you, and we are here to hold your hand.